Did you like the style that they brought to the table, or do you want to see something a little bit different?
I want to look at the top lane pool because the Cassante was so important for me. Shanji has been kind of a Cassante merchant for the past couple of years since this champion has been out, like most top laners, but now with Rumble gone as well, I think his champion pool starts to get a little bit pinched, and I think we saw some of that effect with the Ambessa. RNG now going for the Yone first pick. This is most likely going over to Tangyuan, and does allow them to play some more of those mage jungles, which we've been seeing, I think, pop up, especially here in this group.
Response will be the Leona here for ppgod. Played the Rakan admirably. Nothing too special, I would say, in game number 1. Who was special, though, was Leave, who whips out the Misfortune, another champion he has had good success on early on in the season. The response here for RNG, they're going to match the physical damage of the Yone with the magic damage of a Zyra in the jungle, and then Niket will be locking in the Nautilus.
It's so dangerous to walk into an objective, and I think this is going to be a hard game to play Misfortune if this Yone is anywhere being relevant. So, going to be looking for how ppgod is able to control the map. Aki going for the neny. I'll be honest, Grapes, last time we saw Aki on this champion, it was tough. It was a tough watch. So...
Somewhere on this planet, Rafa is celebrating and Italy getting locked in.
I don't think he's going to be celebrating watching this game. I'll be honest, guys. I just want everyone to be prepped. The Italy did not look great. And so we'll see what other kind of marksman this allows for NIP to go for. And Italy, definitely a champion that does give them some poke, but can play a supportive role as we get into the back end of these drafts. Renekton taken away for Shanji, as well as this Udyr. The Udyr, I think, is so important just because of the flex between our two top laners.
Yeah, NIP definitely want a little bit more frontline, probably for Shanji, or Doinby could play something in a little bit tankier as well. While on the other side, for RNG, probably just a little bit more DPS, which is why you see something like that Ezreal being banned away from JiaQi. We'll see who they want to give this last pick to. Either Shanji or Doinby will be able to get that counter. I'd imagine you pick mid here, knowing you have the Yone matchup. The Renekton a good takeaway to prevent a Renekton mid, but instead it'll be a Gragas locked in.
Can also be a flex. Doinby is one of the few Gragas mid enjoyers alongside fellow brethren across the pond, Niski. But RNG, what are the options here? I think an aggressive AD carry option is fine if you want to try to go for the 2v2, but Varus and Ashe have kind of dropped off the face of the planet. So, interested to see what the option here for RNG. Ashe would definitely help more of the supportive style and being able to affect NIP, but Jhin adds, I think, a lot of utility, especially with the long-range poke. So, RNG really want to focus on making sure that they're able to control space with Jhin traps and with the Zyra, and then have a really hefty all-in with our solo laners.
Yeah, because we did see them struggle with that a little bit in game number 1 in terms of, you know, playing around the objectives, controlling neutral ground in a way, as that is a blind Camille potentially set up here for Xiaoxu. I'd imagine the Gragas doesn't do too well into that, so maybe Doinby ends up picking this up, and we'll see what NIP want to do to round out the composition. It's going to be a Pantheon here, and that leaves a very skirmish-heavy early game composition for Ninjas in Pyjamas. We'll see where these guys end up going. It looks like Doinby might be the one piloting the Panth.
Okay, we're getting melee mids. Look, again, leaning into some of the flexibility of a player like Doinby is so incredible for a system where we have Fearless. I think one of the first interviews that Doinby gave out for the year was like, thank you, Riot, for introducing Fearless and giving me a job. Like, he knows how much value he can provide, and Pantheon makes the 2v2 very, very deadly all of a sudden. And I think it's difficult for Yone to actually find the kill in the solo lane, and if we get to side lanes, suddenly there's a Pantheon who can play around the map. That is one of the strengths of this player in Doinby.
And so we thought, I think, on this 1-2 here, Alk, that NIP wanted to play more of a team fight game with things like the Misfortune and the Leona. That's a very strong team fighting bot lane, but looks like they opted more for some skirmishing on that top side. I feel like early on, especially like once Doinby hits level 6, can roam around the map here with Aki, I expect NIP to be active across the map relatively early on.
While it will be easier for a player like Tangyuan on this Yone to clear out mid-wave than Doinby, I think that the 1v1 is really difficult to play, and then the 2v2 especially, with having Nidalee alongside it to set up. This is as close to getting Renekton as we're allowed to have, considering he was banned this game. So I want to see what NIP are able to do with this mid 2v2, especially with some question marks as to whether or not Aki's Nidalee is going to be as effective. And this Gragas does really well into the Camille, especially early on. So I think RNG have a tough uphill battle to climb if they want to get out of the lanes and empower this Zyra.
As we head onto the Rift for game number 2, RNG whipping out some old classics, things like the Tangyuan that did so well for them earlier on in the season to try to even up this series at 1-1. They know that if they drop this one to NIP, their chances of making it into the playoff bracket drop dramatically. And they're going to have to really improve on their performance in game number 1 if they want to have a chance keeping this one close.
All right, they're trying to find early invades. We're going to be walking in. Everybody will be spotted here. So JiaQi also took a recall, so he'll get spotted. I think we should be seeing NIP looking for something here, but not able to land too much poke, and they get control of the top side of the jungle.
And I remember last game, it was milkyway who initiated kind of a vertical jungle situation by stealing away the red side blue buff first off. Looks like this time NIP want to get into the blue side jungle of RNG this time around, as Aki is going to be there first. And we might be seeing some sort of modified lane swap situation now, especially with now Leave and ppgod still trying to bully out Xiaoxu and forcing Tangyuan to actually maybe miss out on some of this early farm.
He'll be at least in range. Ooh, also started the W to make sure that he grabs it, but especially in a lane swap, if there's nothing you can do in the solo lane, just walk mid, help your mid laner get push, help your mid laner, at least for the early levels especially. Again, we were talking about the fact that Yone versus Pantheon, it's not the most fun matchup. Pantheon is typically very, very good at being able to deal with squishier melee champions, and so they're just going to split the map. They stopped they stopped the Milky Way from being able to set up too much with the Zyra, and hopefully that delays them as we got a fight in mid lane. Tangyuan hit 2 first.
Thrown out there from Doinby. Tangyuan unfazed by it. I will say he went E level 2, so he still does not have that Q.
Yeah.
Which could be interesting here. Now RNG
going to go for this dive on a Shanji.
Going to try to dive Shanji here. Xiaoxu did start the hook shot, so should be able to find a good engage to start things off, but instead the wave not in the best place for it, so RNG will have to wait for a little bit as the lane might start to reset a little bit with Leave and ppgod headed right down towards bot.
And this is going to be a small advantage here for Xiaoxu, who was able to get level 2 first, will grab all of this top lane wave, and immediately NIP have already swapped their bottom lane back into this role. So interesting stuff coming in from NIP. They don't lose too much on the crash, as we saw that Shanji gave up part of the wave, wasn't able to actually contest. He's not actually using the teleport either, so he's saving the summoner spell.
So now Milky Way looking for a gank. ppgod forced to flash away. Aki in the area to try and make sure that ppgod will be able to escape. And the red buff actually doing maybe some body blocking here for Milky Way. Tangyuan now has to flash away. Zenith Blade connects onto Milky Way, who all of a sudden is potentially targeted here. That is going to be Doinby flashing on top of him. That's first blood picked up for NIP. The skirmishing early on is working very well for the red side, as now Aki will get his reign on the enemy red buff as well.
RNG just felt confused in that play. They tried to cover for Tangyuan. He ends up making the catch. And now NIP find themselves with first blood. They get access to the respawn raptors here for Aki. I mean, this Zyra couldn't be in a possibly worse spot right now. Got contested early on. They couldn't make the bot lane dive happen. And now Aki has access. He can go topside, finish off the scuttle. Maybe with Xiaoxu getting early priority, it's a bit tougher here. And Doinby especially not able to really get pushed too much in mid. You see Milky Way, he's not even bothering to go towards the top side of the map. He just wants to be bottom lane, get his raptors, and maybe even look for something for onto this misfortune.
So you say early on, Aki Nidalee doing a little bit better than last time.
For now, but I don't think this is because he is mechanically outplaying. He is not mechanically outplaying anybody. He just landed Q onto a target that was fully stunned by Leona. That doesn't count.
Hey, to be fair, that is you gotta be aggressive early on this Nidalee pick, especially if you're going to be heavily counter jungling here. There's some more trading down here in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, up on the top side, Xiaoxu and Shanji duking it out a little bit. Xiaoxu, with that early XP advantage, really seems to have been able to take control of this top side, as things have slowed down a little bit across the Rift after that chaotic start.
So I need to know, what is Shanji's idea here? Why did we save the teleport for this play? Was he maybe worried of a bottom lane dive? That could be the case, but because of it, he's trapped in lane. He didn't get to use early teleport, which, especially for the lane, you want to at least use it once before the Unleashed teleport comes through. And he's just kind of stuck right now, because all Xiaoxu needs to be able to do is come back. He'll still keep some of his experience lead that he has over his opponent, and that does mean he'll have access to level 6 before this Gragas, which, hey, we've got Grub spawning in 30 seconds. If that's a play that NIP are looking to contest, then it becomes much bigger of an issue for them.
And so Shanji actually using the teleport to go to the bottom lane, clear that wave out, as the bot lane for NIP will rotate towards the top side to try and take control of these Grubs. Xiaoxu, on the other hand, deciding to stay up here towards the top side. Not level 6 just yet, and that wave's not in a great position. We'll see if he ends up getting it before that objective spawns, but RNG don't seem very worried about it. Instead, maybe looking for a gank here down bot.
I think this is a fascinating choice coming in from RNG, not committing for the topside play. I'll hold that as Shanji.
And it's send Niket down here as well. Dredgeline does not connect. Nice dodge from Shanji, and that will buy enough time for NIP to pick up the Grubs.
I figured that RNG would be a team that wanted to focus on early Grubs, just because you have this Yone, you have this Camille who can be very potent side push or side lane threats. So letting them being able to get alone time on a turret or be a little bit more potent that you could force NIP to match was something that I was thinking was going to occur. But without them finding the kill bottom lane, they don't even bother to go for the dragon, recognizing that there's a dive that's going to be happening onto top lane. Xiaoxu gives up the wave, did hit level 6, but I mean, I think the reinforcements are just too late. Doinby's going to be here. Tangyuan eventually will be able to make his way over.
It's all 4. It's only 4 here right now, though. Here comes
the
ultimatum
Aki!
and lands here onto Aki, as he will get hooked up here by Niket as well. Is there enough damage? The Riptide comes through. Aki should be able to escape, but the last tick of the Ignite will take him down. The full bullet time lands onto Niket, as he'll get traded 1 for 1, but RNG get NIP's jungler and shut the Nidalee down.
But still, look at who's the big loser in this play. Xiaoxu gets none of this top wave, still cut off from the rest of this lane. He's not able to get any experience or any of the gold. Will eventually be able to trickle back in here, but that was also 2 plates going over to NIP. I don't think they were in range for one of them, but either way, I still think a big find for the Ninjas in Pyjamas. As we get back into this replay, I mean, Aki just, unfortunately, you got outplayed by Hextech Ultimatum. Happens to the best of us. I'm not going to blame it this time on his Nidalee. You got to pass for this invade.
Hey, if you're, yeah, I mean, for RNG, they were pressured away from their tower. They couldn't fight there, so instead, trying to find a bit of a straggler, and that was what Aki was, as he looked for a aggressive steal of the second spawn of the blue buff. I'll say just that. And right now, RNG getting a little bit of life back, but still gold in control for NIP. They're still up about 1,000. They have control of those first spawn of Grubs, and they still did not take away that dragon. They sent a lot of resources down towards the bottom side.
Walk this guy,
JiaQi flashing forward for shot, will connect, as Shanji just goes a little bit too far, and RNG's bot laner getting on the board here.
But Jin's not going to be out here on the map, so I think NIP are going to be looking to grab this dragon while RNG just try to get as much damage onto this top tier 1. They've had to send Doinby over. Doinby, I thought he was going to commit the ultimate, but he's probably going to be saving that to look for a bottom lane play. It was great for RNG to find that, but I think that the cost might be a little too much. The next 3.5 minutes, you're going to be playing Jin with no flash versus a Pantheon, Leona, and a Gragas. If you are NIP, I think you take that trade any day of the week.
Get another look here.
So what happened here?
Shanji's very aggressively posturing, and he just takes a little bit too much damage, I think, on the back end.
Okay. Okay. So we got Jin ulted. Okay. He just lets it happen. I don't know what to say, Grapes. Like,
yeah, he's saving his flash for next game, seemingly as well. I don't know.
I get it, man. He wants to flash belly slam into someone. I get it, but like, you can't be dying on side lanes, and I think that has been part of some of the criticism that we've levied towards Shanji, not only in just this series, but I think his last 1.5 years, especially coming off of that OMG run with Cream and the rest of the gang. His side laning and some of his team fighting hasn't been up to snuff. And
oh man, look at the bullet time damage. RNG's Milky Way almost taken down to 0 from full HP there. You know, Leaf had a great game 1. I think he's having a pretty good game 2.
Yeah, but look on the other side. I feel bad. Like, Leave almost kills the enemy jungler, but look at what he's able to buy on the opposite side. Aki on the top side takes all of his camps, can play for these grubs as well. NIP are in such a strong position here, Graves, and it's small moments of hope here for RNG that have looked great, but other than that, hasn't been. I mean, is this real?
They're going for the play on the ppgod down to 200 HP, but here comes Donkey with the Grand Starfall. ppgod at 100 HP. JiaQi just trying to throw out the bullet time, or sorry, the curtain call, but Lee flashes in front of that first shot and will be able to pick up the kill. That is kill number 3, and that first feat of strength going to NIP.
Okay, both AD carries, I think that's a handshake like, all right, respect, bro. Like, goes for it. Instant cleanse coming in from JiaQi. Again, not having flash from that previous play means that he is more susceptible to these Leona ults. And we got to see Doinby lose out on a wave on mid, but makes the play happen in bottom side. But think about the investment as well. ppgod no flash, Leave no flash, so I'll be looking to see if RNG are able to actually punish that, or if that's going to be a summoner spell that goes unchecked.
Seems like right now NIP are everywhere on the map before RNG are. Like, it doesn't matter where it is. It seems like they're top lane and bot lane at the same time. You see right there that milkyway is able to steal away one of the grubs before Aki took the rest. So big control in that grub department. Really nice explosive cast from Shanji, who is going to try to make up for his sins of that solo kill earlier. Doinby with the Comet Spear picks up kill number 2.
All right, guys. So we picked the Camille into the Camille blind. We got owned. Happens. We knew that the Gragas was there. It was going to be a flex, but not a matchup that we were kind of comfortable with. Peacock?
North lanes the knockup onto 2. Bullet time does come out though and forces RNG to escape. Leave using these ultimates beautifully here in this second game. And RNG seem like they're trying to go for plays, but really aren't able to capitalize too much on anything so far.
Well, with 5 grubs and with where Pantheon in this game does not get much easier for RNG. Those grubs are going to do so much damage, and they even have a demolish on what I'm expecting is going to be Leona, so they immediately get 2 turret plates before 14 minutes here in the mid lane. Maybe even a third with the dot damage that this does. Yep. Yeah, a lot of gold here for NIP as we get a look at this again. I mean, it was Niket trying to find something. ppgod was pretty low, and I just want everyone to respect, like, instantaneous cleanse from JiaQi, literally without missing a beat, uses the curtain call, and it's a flash from Leave. I loved watching the player cams after this because both JiaQi and Leave were, like, smiling, laughing. It was, they recognized that both of them had made a great play here.
And then there's this fight down here where, again, ppgod seemingly gets caught out, but just it's too tanky, and the rest of his team does too much damage for RNG to finish him off.
I mean, his AD carry just does no damage right now. It's going to be a, we're looking at Static Shiv Jin, Mosquito Jin has returned back to League of Legends, and yeah, his Zyra also just hasn't finished an item. We're 13 minutes in, and Milkyway is just now finishing Liliandry's. NIP are already way ahead of the ball, and when you have 2 AP junglers, it's very easy to track who's so far ahead. Aki's almost level 10 at this point, and part of that is having to do with some of his winning lanes, but he's also, I think, done a really good job of drawing away resources from this, from Milky Way.
Oh, definitely. I mean, didn't he? He took away both of the first spawns of red and blue buff, and then has been able to capitalize on the counter jungling ever since then. So right now, Aki in a great spot. He's definitely been outplaying Milky Way so far early in this series, and that was a player that we were excited to watch here for RNG. Now we head down to the bottom lane with the dragon spawning in just 15 seconds. Solar Flare comes out, lands on a Tangyuan, but he's able to buffer nicely with the Fate Sealed. Really nice Stranglethorn to try to buy some time, and ppgod goes too far forward, and RNG get 1 kill on the overextension.
Those are my ninjas of pajamas. There's the classical random mid bot lane death coming in. ppgod in the squad. Oh, sorry guys, you just stayed a little too far up and find Niket.
Gonna cancel a little bit of damage, but will go down rather easily. Now Doinby stuck in a bit of a weird spot here. We'll try to flash on a Milky Way. Here comes the curtain call though. 1 shot doesn't land. The 2nd shot will though. On to Doinby and take him down. Teleport comes in from Xiaoxu. Now Aki could be the one in trouble. The sweep lands here onto the middle lane, and the Deadly Flourish does as well. Xiaoxu finally using that Hextech ultimatum to take Aki down, and RNG get a boatload of kills in the bottom lane.
Shanji this whole time sat in mid. He was able to transfer over, hit that mid tier 1, and it's a couple kills. I don't know if RNG can start this dragon up, however. I mean, Doinby's going to be back up in a second here. He doesn't have the ultimate. No one's able to contest from Ninjas in Pyjamas. It'll just be their first dragon of the game at 15 minutes.
So we thought this was very, very NIP favored, and to be fair, it still is. The gold lead's still about 2,000, but these are the mistakes, Alk, that we definitely need to see this team clean up a little bit before they head into the knockout stage. Yeah.
Small mechanical things, right? Like the fact that Tangyuan's able to cancel or ignore part of the ultimate from Leona is great from RNG, and I mean, they were just like, hey, we have Pantheon ult. If they stay under this turret, we're probably going to dive them anyway.
This was blind, by the way.
This was literally just like, hey, I'm just sending it, and if this guy's in this bush, then great. But I think you look at what they're actually able to gain from this, and NIP lose a lot more from this trade than maybe they would have wanted. As we come back to live.
ppgod going so aggressive throughout the entirety of this game. JiaQi kind of on the other side of the fight right now. milkyway getting bursted down by the bullet time, but not able to be taken down all the way to 0. Thomas Spear just short from hitting on to the Zyra. And so there's no bloodshed, but another aggressive play will result in more camps going Aki's way. Really been taking advantage of the counter jungling here on this middle lane.
milkyway is just not allowed to touch any of his camps, and that already sucks for most junglers. When you're the farm-heavy jungle that usually requires resources, you want to be able to get gold into your back pocket. This is just not the way for you right now, and RNG are hurting. Really, the only people that have been able to stabilize themselves are this bottom lane. JiaQi and Tangyuan have been doing pretty fine for themselves, and I think that they are still showing that there is some ability for them to team fight, but NIP are putting a large focus playing with Aki and I think leveraging their advantage. As I mean, this right here, I wish it was just slightly more coordinated, right? Like, if we got the ultimate onto milkyway, if Doinby had landed the stun and as he's going for it, then we get the misfortune ult. milkyway dies there, but that's twice now that the Zyra's been able to walk away.
It's almost like a death in its own right in terms of forcing milkyway back to base at the very least.
All right.
Speaking of things that are burned, that's JiaQi's cleanse out of the picture. Not major objectives to fight over for a little bit, but certainly going to be happy about getting that Jhin summoner spell. Otacon spawning towards the bot side, so we'll have both the dragon and the Otacon spawning in just over 2.5 minutes.
I feel right now, Grapes, as we're waiting for Dragon. Oh, wait a minute, we got a team fight.
Yeah. There's a fight as ppgod just refuses to back away any single time. The burn from the Leandries will finally take him down, but Doinby coming in with the Grand Starfall. Comet Spear doing a lot of damage. Finally, milkyway will drop, and that is Aki picking up Niket as well. It's a 2-for-1 extended trade. Tangyuan forced to go back as well, as NIP retaining their control of this bottom side jungle.
RNG thought they found the pick onto ppgod, and hey, you got the Leona down, but look at what you lose in trade. It's going to be a bot tier 1, a mid tier 2, so 2 turrets falling here. And Doinby on this Pantheon is just providing so much utility. He can be in anywhere on the map. I was going to say we have like a certain moment of like happiness and extreme sorrow because I get to finally see someone play with the synchronized souls, and especially now with feats of strength enabled, they get even more movement speed, but it's Fimbulwinter's second item.
Yeah.
This expresses extreme sorrow in my heart for this item, as not really what I wanted to see. And I mean, ppgod just gets caught, dies to Leandri's burn here, and that Pantheon ultimate is just so useful, being able to get across the map incredibly easy.
Oh, milkyway is dead.
And milkyway, we come back to live, and he is dead. He has never been so strong on the AP junglers. I think that this was a matchup where we were looking at both him and Aki, both on champions or playstyles that we're not super familiar with them, and some of that is starting to show just a little bit here.
Yeah, he's not really been able to farm basically the whole game. You can see right now Aki 50 CS ahead of milkyway, as well as 2 levels. Well, they had to look at the replay in the pit, but it just...
He just walked into his jungle. You made the cardinal sin of his enemy jungle.
How dare you walk into the enemy jungle?
How dare you walk into your raptor, into
jungle,
your wolves, man. Come on, dude. Show some respect. RNG, they want to fight, man. They said, look, we can't keep losing, but...
Looking a little desperate right now as Niket flashes for the depth charge and still is unable to connect anything more than just the ult. Shanji will get targeted here by the ultimatum, but a really nice explosive cast will take Xiaoxu down. Going to be Tangyuan with landing that Fate Seal, but not much more. It is 2 more kills in favor of NIP.
It's looking very doomed here for RNG. NIP almost feels like they can do no wrong. They're doing a little bit of fiesta gaming in some of these fights, but I think that they're just too far ahead at this point. Double items. You see them now that they've recalled. 2 items for Aki. 2 items here for Shanji. He's going to be finishing Fimbulwinter. Doinby's in that same camp. And I don't know, Grapes. It just feels like every single play, they're not able to get on the back line. Niket, unfortunately, is not having the same success that we saw on the Rel. And part of your game plan is to make sure that the Zyra gets to her breakpoints. And that has just not been the case here, as we are Pantheon ulting to... Okay, guys. Come on.
Cannot let milkyway walk into his own jungle. Once again, going to get stunned up. Bullet time is flashed away from, and now nip use a lot of their cooldowns. It could maybe be in a bit of trouble, but the answer is actually no. Aki picking up another kill onto Niket, who's had a bit of a tougher game this time around, and it is now a 6,000 gold lead for nip.
They get the dragon. They'll be able to get bottom lane Otacon if they really want to. They have to kind of pick one of these objectives, but they've got engage on wheels here, man. Like, you've got Leona, who can do anywhere within like an 11 to 1500 range, and Pantheon just says, if you're on the map, I can probably hit you this time. So kind of sucks for RNG. There's no place that's safe, and honestly, milkyway, he might need to adopt the buddy pass system. Like, hey, you gotta walk with me, man. Yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah, Niket might have to just be relegated to following around the jungler so he can farm some camps. Right now, not looking good for RNG, in danger of going down to 2-0 here in this best of 5. Reminder that there is still potentially a world where RNG can lose the series and make it out of the group, but it does not start with an 0-3. It makes things nearly impossible just due to game differential being the tiebreaker, even if FPX end up taking down IG.
I mean, the big part of that, right, is no longer is their fate really in their hands. They were not able to complete their part of the assignment, so
yes,
hoping for other participation in the group project that is Group D. You gotta start on this Otacon. This is pretty risky, even with the gold advantage that nip have. The amount of shred that Otacon gives, and I think how slow this objective is going to go down. RNG do have a timer here that they can look for. Xiaoxu does have teleport, and he did push in this wave, but
milkyway caught out once again, this time by Shanji on the body slam. Doinby flashing forward, Stranglethorns only to delay the inevitable, which has been milkyway's death every single time these two teams have clashed here in Game 2. Xiaoxu will pick up the tier 2 as a bit of a consolation prize, but nip are pushing down bot. They could even look for a tier 3.
RNG have been really focused on side laning and making sure that they're split mapping across their opponents, but part of the issue with going for cross map is not only do you have to have information, partially due to vision, lack of vision coming in from RNG, and I think just with where the map is, it's very much collapsed in favor of nip, but you have to have the confidence to kind of send it. With Camille, it's very easy to get away if you get caught on a side lane, so if they had been a little bit quicker on the trigger to go for these, maybe they find Doinby.
Xiaoxu looking to try to finish things off here. There's the Hextech ultimatum. Fate Seal does not connect. Doinby surviving for so long. They will finally take him down, but at what cost? Bullet time comes out. Nikek bursts down. Tangyuan finally bursts down the turret, but it is not a good death here for the Yone, as 3 of his teammates will fall, as well as the Otacon going nip's way.
This is the Thanos moment, man. He's like, I got what I wanted. We were able to take down Doinby. What did it cost you? Almost everything here for RNG. They lose 3 members. They're not able to make that play. It's great you got the turret, but the game, I think, is just too much out of hand. Another blue buff stolen here by Aki. Another Wolves taken. Okay, we've got probably another 3 minutes of gameplay. You know, we have the Otacon for 2 minutes. Baron's up in a minute. We'll go into this replay, and then I'll ask you a question here, Grapes. I thought maybe they would just focus the turret. I mean, you have Demolish here for Xiaoxu, but
yeah,
really just wants to make sure that they find this. It just gets knocked out of it, man. Like, there's no ult from Yone. There's just no follow-up damage. And as we come out of this, do we think we're going to be getting Flame Horizon in the jungle here for Aki? Because milkyway's probably going to be clearing some minion waves. Probably going to get access to maybe 1 or 2 more camps, but
I think the game's just going to end too quick. That's my take at this point.
I mean,
nip are very far ahead. If they can use the Otacon buff to just secure this Baron, and then they probably can end on that next push, just winning a 5v5, because they are so much stronger at this point in the game. Really, you get to a point where there's just not enough jungle camps to steal away at this point as well. Like Aki doesn't really.
We gotta start killing people, bro. We gotta start killing champions. Just start taking gold from them.
And look at the vision as well on this top side. Just so many wards. And looks like RNG really have no control. You can see they send both of their soul laners down to the bottom side to try to deal with Shanji, while on the other side, their bot lane is just getting targeted by 4 members of Ninjas in Pyjamas. Niket will once again be the sacrificial Nautilus as they do get a turret on the backside, but it might cost them their lives. As here comes the rest of NIP. Xiaoxu trying to at least just clear the wave. Bit of a bounce moment here on this bottom side as he knows his fate is inevitable, allowing for the rest of his team to escape at the very least. Maybe getting a little bit of chip damage here onto Shanji as Xiaoxu is continuing to run the wrong way and will eventually go down.
Look, RNG are just wasting their time right now. They haven't started up a Baron. They haven't been able to start up the Dragon or get in position really for this objective. So for the time being, it's nice for RNG. I still think this is very much an NIP-sided game here, but RNG are at least playing the map. And I will say, I think against lower-end teams, if we were looking at not necessarily an NIP here in the group, maybe you're going up against another... Oh, JiaQi's mechanics are too clean in this game. I feel bad for him, man.
Unfortunately, too much crowd control on the Leona, yeah.
He literally has perfect... He has Captain Jack cleanses, and the game doesn't even matter. Oh, no.
Hey, it's a good sign for maybe the rest of the series if he's able to get in a better position later.
RNG Split 2 is going to be a beast, man. That's all I'm saying. Regardless of if they make playoffs or not, I think that with where we expected this team to look at from Demacia Cup to now, I think this is a really fun team to watch. And I think while they won't be able to, if they do make playoffs, it'll be great. I doubt they will make a very deep run. They are showing that they are at least playing the map and trying to cross-map for objectives instead of forcing for fights and over-forcing for objectives that they just have no business of matching for. So at least RNG showing some cerebral play behind the mask.
I was on the cast for the LNG series the other day, and that was a losing team that felt like they did not know how to play the map. It seems like right now, RNG at least are making plays. They are trying their best to try to at least, you know, play sides, split the map up in different ways that potentially are to their benefit. But right now, NIP just looking like the better team. We mentioned with Doinby joining this roster that all of a sudden they are a big contender to potentially make international competitions here in the LPL, and it's looking like that is more and more of a possibility as they are looking poised to go undefeated in their group.
Which is really impressive for a squad that, honestly, we had questions for. We said this was going to be Group D, Group of Life. Anybody could have made it. We were looking at IG being the big dogs. Who knew a team with the Shy would be able to kind of squander some resources? Happens. Rookie had a bad game as well, so my GOAT not infallible, but NIP have just looked head and shoulders above.
Maybe one last going for broke play here, as that is a lot of cooldowns used to just burn a couple of flashes. Xiaoxu getting bursted down against Leave, will probably die in the 1v1 as he does, as Doinby dashes down to the back line, trying to finish off this game here for NIP. It's a 2-man fate sealed here for Tangyuan, but he will drop it regardless. It's a double kill for Leave, a 2-man body slam coming in from Shanji, and a much more dominant game number 2 victory here for Ninjas in Pyjamas as they put themselves to match point and are looking to run away with first place in Group D.
Wow, 12,000 gold. We didn't get, unfortunately, the Jungle Flame Horizon, but just like you said, not enough game time and not enough camps for NIP. They got all the jungle camps, then they started taking the RNG champion camps, and then they took the Nexus camp. And unfortunately, that one is a lot more important as, like you said, looking towards an almost undefeated group stage here. It'll be one game separating them from going 9-0.
And it seems like it was, this is what it looks like when NIP play a clean early game. That didn't happen necessarily in game number 1. That allowed for RNG to gain some momentum, but this time around, things went very well from the jump. You know, they allowed for Aki to get a ton of early camps, a huge farm lead over Milky Way. I would say if I had my vote for player of the series, it would probably go towards the jungler here for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Where on the other side, RNG just did not really react well to losing a lot of those early camps.
Yeah, they weren't able to move over in time, especially I think we think about the play, I think level 5 around Raptor Pit. We were seeing Aki go for the invade. They were moving in. They had found a pick onto Leona, but they were saying, okay, we're calling back. Tangyuan actually takes a pretty greedy path back into mid. And so he forces the flash. It ends up leaving Niket down. And so you don't allow for your support to actually make the play or move around the map when he is kind of the sacrificial lamb in a lot of these plays. So RNG, our criticism coming out of game 1 was we never really saw them go for a team fight. In game 2 here, it felt like everything really collapsed when we saw early invades and not being able to have enough pressure early game to turn our long side lanes or some of our competent split pushers into actual threats.
And for me right now, the big question mark in terms of what RNG need to, who on RNG needs to step up, goes to their jungler milkyway. He was a star player on loan last year for the team, coming back here to RNG, really struggling, I would say here, Alk, in these first 2 games.
I'm so look, I'm just happy we got a decent Nidalee game from Aki. Okay, I was worried. I was worried we were gonna see some old school Aki Shanji shenanigans, but this game around NIP I think felt more poised. We still got the bottom lane stuff happening. We had some early dives not go as well, but maybe it's just game 1. You know, just calibrating to the stage, getting ready to kind of lock in for finding out where your opponents are.
Getting some of those jitters out of the way potentially. You know, going forward though, here for RNG, not a lot of good to take away from that game 1. I will say I think JiaQi is playing a very good series. He was one of the players that we highlighted here for this squad, but just it seems like as soon as they are met with a little bit of adversity, this team is unable to fight back necessarily, especially here in this series early on.
They get out of lane, right? And it's just like it falls apart. And even sometimes in lane, the 2v2s or the individuals aren't able to kind of match up, as Doinby had such a big impact on side lanes. It felt like anywhere you were, if you weren't exactly timing Pantheon ult, this guy was just anywhere. He could be anywhere on the map, and there's nothing you really could do to stop him.
Get a look at some of these replays. I will say Doinby, he was building it. He had an unending despair as well as the Fimbulwinter in his kit. So if you like tank chase, get ready for tank Pantheon. Maybe coming to a rift near you. I mean, it's not a Doinby game without a random tank item in there, right? So
I agree, but like, can we please? I can't wait till we nerf tank items. It's coming on 25 S14, so. Fingers crossed that we can get rid of these itemization from champions that do not need to be having tank items.
Not yet, though.
I will say, maybe it feels right for Fimbulwinter, because Fimbulwinter spent a long time just being extremely useless on champions not named Gragas.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in theory, right? You use your W, you get the shield. Even you get a shield probably on ulting in as well if you can land that slow on the initial spear. There's this guy cooks. You know, there's a lot of thought process in the builds that he goes for, and even though they might not be super orthodox, looked like it went pretty well here for Doinby this game.
He talked about it in the interview with Patty that we got, right? Was when he's in solo queue, obviously he's playing a ton as a pro player, and when he sees a champion in solo queue, he's talking to a lot of some of the one tricks that are playing it, and he kind of can see the value. Especially, I think this is almost entirely augmented around the fact that we are playing Fearless, right? Like, you need to be able to have deep champion pools, unique champions as well that I can think break the mold. And I think this format is built for players exactly like, if there's ever like a poster child for Fearless, it has to be Doinby.
I'm trying to think of any other players, but yeah, in terms of champion ocean,
champion and role impact, right? Because like you can have champion diversity and be Busio and play support when you're playing like Azir in bottom lane.
Right.
That just is not like real for the most part, but like mid lane, in terms of impact on the map, in terms of how many different champions you can kind of pair with jungle as well, all the flexibility that's available to him, it's just perfect.
Yeah, it's also playstyle differences as well here, and for Doinby playing a bit of a battle mage in the Aurora in game 1, then going towards kind of a tank engaged frontliner in the Pantheon in game 2. he could whip out something completely different in Game 3, and I would not be surprised whatsoever. That is just the player that he is. Despite taking 2 years away from competitive, it seems like he is right back into things, has not really skipped a beat in his return to competitive play, and is looking to allow NIP to go into an undefeated 3-0 here in this group, unless RNG has something to say about it.
I forgot that they lost that one game to IG, I won't lie.
Yeah.
They can't get 9-0. I'm a big fraud. It's okay. Yay! Super Carry Doinby gets MVP. Let's see if he can get it for 3 games in a row, which we haven't been able to see here in LPL so far.
I'm curious to see.
Leave got it first game.
Game 1.
All right, get me out. Get me out, guys.
I thought it might have gone to Aki. I think maybe he got robbed a little bit just from that early game. But shout out to Doinby. Great front line. Great gameplay overall here in this series. NIP is just 1 game away from ending this group stage undefeated. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll see if RNG can respond, pull off the miracle, and get us into a potential 5-game situation.